Thousands chant "F the war" at a concert in St. Petersburg as Putin faces backlash over Ukrainian invasion. Video reportedly filmed at St. Petersburg gig shows crowd chanting "F the war." Footage uploaded by politician Lyubov Sobol, who is part of Navalny's party. Comes after singer Yuri Shevchuk was charged for opposing war at another. UK predicts Russian dissatisfaction with the war and a willingness to voice it may grow as the death toll from months of fighting mounts. This is the extraordinary moment. Concertgoers in Russia's second largest city chanted "F the war" as opposition to Putin's invasion of Ukraine grew. Footage shows hundreds of people in a packed venue in St. Petersburg repeatedly denouncing the war in Ukraine in a brazen show of defiance to Putin. It is unclear exactly when the footage was filmed, but it was posted online at the weekend by a member of opposition politician Alexei Navalny's party. The video emerged after rock singer Yuri Shevchuk was charged with discrediting the military for giving an anti-war speech at a gig in the city of Perm last week. In footage of that speech, which was also posted online, Shevchuk, lead singer of 1980s rock band DDT, can be heard telling the 8,000-strong crowd, "The people of Ukraine are being murdered." For what? Our boys are dying over there. For what? What are the goals, my friends? For some Napoleonic plans of another Caesar of ours? Yes. The motherland, my friends, is not the presidency that has to be slobbered and kissed all the time. Russian opposition to the war erupted shortly after Putin declared the start of his special military operation back in February, with mass protests in Moscow and other large Russians. But the despotic president reacted quickly with new laws to crack down on free speech, shuttering almost all opposition news outlets and arresting people at the rallies on. Since then, protests have been muted, though UK intelligence today predicted they will grow again as Russia's death toll mounts. Britain's Ministry of Defence believes Russia has now lost as many soldiers in 3 months of war in Ukraine as the Soviets did in 9 years in Afghanistan, when 15,000 soldiers were killed and 35,000 wounded. The Russian public has, in the past, proven sensitive to casualties suffered in wars of choice, an intelligence briefing from the MOD said. As casualties suffered in Ukraine continue to rise, they will become more apparent, and public dissatisfaction with the war and a willingness to voice it may grow. Russia is now almost 3 months into what was intended to be a days-long war to seize control of Ukraine by toppling the government and installing a puppet regime. That effort failed when Russian forces attacking from Belarus were unable to break into Kyiv and were forced to retreat back across the border. Russian generals now cynically claim their aim was never to take the capital, but instead intended that attack to distract from their real aim, seizing Donbas. Heavy fighting is now underway in the region, particularly around the city of Severodonetsk, as Putin's commanders try to force a bloody victory. President Zelensky has estimated that between 50 and 100 Ukrainian soldiers are now being lost every day on the Eastern Front, which he described as hell. Though Ukrainian losses are mounting, Russia is thought to be faring worse and has fewer troops to lose after Kyiv ordered a general mobilization, something that Putin has yet to do, perhaps fearing the political consequence. Defense Minister Alexei Reznikov said last week that the country is aiming to have 1 million soldiers on the front lines in the near future, compared with a pre-invasion force of 190,000 Russians. Ukraine's armed forces are also now being equipped with up-to-date weapons from NATO countries such as long-range artillery and precision ammunition, as opposed to Soviet-era weapons it has been fighting with. Russia has committed some of its newer generation equipment to the fight, most notably jets and Terminator fighting vehicles, but has been largely waging war with Cold War-era equipment. International sanctions are thought to have closed some of the country's tank factories, meaning that it will struggle to replenish stocks as the war drags on. Putin's generals have achieved modest success in recent days with the capture of Mariupol after the final Ukrainian defenders surrendered. The Azov seaport city is now completely under Russian control, meaning a so-called land bridge between occupied Donbas and Crimea is complete, thought to have been one of the key objectives before the invasion. But elsewhere, gains have been piecemeal, and in some places have gone into reverse, with Ukraine gaining back territory. Counterattacks to the north of second city Kharkiv have seen the Russians pushed back across the border in several places, with the city now largely free from bombardment after weeks being. The counter-move also puts Russia's supply lines running from Belgorod, a major logistics hub, to Donbas under threat, further hampering advances in the east. Either we win or this will end badly for all of humanity. Putin's state TV stooges warn Russia will unleash nuclear war rather than accept defeat in Ukraine. The head of Russian state-backed TV network RT told viewers, "People, this is forever. Get used to this new life," when discussing Russia's alienation. Margarita Simonyan, who studied in the US and told Russian viewers they should rejoice the fact that their children will never receive a Western. Russia's state-backed media has become infamous for its anti-Ukrainian rants. The head of Russian state-backed TV network RT said things will end badly for all of humanity if Russia doesn't win a military victory against Ukraine, hinting at a nuclear strike should the country. Russia's state-backed media has become infamous for its anti-Ukrainian rants since the war broke out in February 24. But the latest outburst was from RT's Margarita Simonyan, who studied in the US and told Russian viewers they should rejoice the fact that their children will never receive a Western education. They all believe that we will lose and the West will win. They don't understand that it's impossible. It's simply impossible. It will never happen, she said on Monday. Either we win, or this will end badly for all of humanity. There is no other way, she said, in remarks seeming to hint at a nuclear exchange if Russia did not get its way. When people ask how long this will go on, in terms of our alienation, confrontation with the West, I see only one version of events. People, this is forever. Get used to this new life, she said. The brave new world will no longer be open to people who want to study in the West, telling viewers to get used to Russia's growing isolation and saying people would be thankful their children did not study in Western institutions in the future. No matter what happens or however we behave, our confrontation with them is for the rest of our lives, she added. The news comes ahead of negotiations set to take place between Russia and Ukraine, with the fighting intensifying as Putin's forces attempt to take back lost territory in the Donbas. The news comes amid reports that Russia will soon have 50 brand new nuclear missiles capable of reducing all enemies to a nuclear crater, the head of the country's space agency has warned. Dmitry Rogozin, the head of Roscosmos and a staunch Putin ally, said dozens of new Sarmat-2 missiles, measuring 14 stories tall and weighing 208 tons, will be deployed by autumn to menace Russia's enemies. As a demonstration of Sarmat's power, he showed off footage of a 26 feet deep and 66 feet wide hole caused by one of the missiles when fired without a warhead. Rogozin, a former deputy prime minister and Putin super loyalist, has made several recent threats of nuclear strikes against the West involving Satan II. For his latest threat, he used footage from Russian TV channel Zvezda, run by the Defense Ministry. The Satan II missile is the height of a 14-story tower block and weighs 208 tons, say the Russians. The intercontinental ballistic missile has a range of 11,200 miles and can strike at targets at 15,880 miles per hour after flying in outer space or via the north or south. Rogozin, who is in charge of Russia's part in the International Space Station, last week boasted to school children and students that Satan II could demolish half the coast of a continent of a Western enemy which we may not like due to its aggressive policy. 2 weeks ago Rogozin threatened to expunge Ukraine from the map and destroy the West in half an hour.